So I recently did a video on how CNN is trying to shift the Overton window to try to convince you that there's only one solution, and that's to deport immigrants. If you want to solve the immigration crisis, we just have to close the border completely and deport everyone. Because in reality, there are only two solutions to the immigration crisis that's going on right now. Either you open the borders or you close the borders. Anything in between, you're going to introduce philosophical contradictions. And we've seen this ever since we started with closed borders or partially closed borders in the early 20th century. A majority of American history, though, we have had open borders. Open borders, you just come on in. Why is that a good thing? Well, we can extract from that. We can give them jobs. They can apply and get jobs, and they can help contribute, and then we can give them what they need. They need healthcare, they need food, they need shelter. Let's give it to them. Let them have their own lives. But that's not what's going on. Democrats can't close the border because that looks bad, right? That makes them look like they're racists. And so what they do is they try to sympathize with Donald Trump's policy. That's what they're doing. They're sympathizing with Donald Trump's policy. I did a video on how the Associated Press had analysts from the Heritage Foundation and from a book with 0 reviews, a co-editor from a book on Amazon that had 0 reviews. The Associated Press had these two individuals on just to explain why we should do Trump's policy. What's Trump's policy? Well, if you want to claim asylum, then we deport you. That's Trump's policy. So if you want to claim asylum, we deport you, and then once we have your court hearing, then we'll introduce you into the country. Then we'll do that. That was Trump's policy, and that was a really bad policy because it violates international law. It's illegal. It's not allowed. You have to satisfy there are certain laws that you have to satisfy. It's called international law. You have to give people asylum. If they claim asylum, you have to give it to them. If you don't do that, you violate international law. If you disagree with international law, then that means you basically have an archaic, barbaric opinion. The rest of the world is not with you. The only people who are with you are like the racists. So we need to be bringing in everyone that wants to come across the border. Open borders. Open up the borders. And I'm going to explain as to why that is at the very end of this video. But first, I want to show you Fox News. Fox News holds the same opinion as CNN, which holds the same opinion as Donald Trump, which holds the same opinion as Joe Biden, which has the same opinion as Kamala Harris. They all have the same opinion that they just want to deport as many people as possible, and that they need to increase border patrol, and that they need to build more concentration camps where journalists are not allowed in, where your First Amendment rights are stripped away from you. You're not allowed to be a journalist there. You're not allowed to see where your taxpayer dollars are going. That's unconstitutional. Let's see how Ted Cruz responds to this.
The numbers are through the roof. And as you mentioned a minute ago, it is the direct result of decisions Joe Biden made in his very first week as president.
And so Ted Cruz is technically correct that this is a failure of Joe Biden. The fact that we have inhumane conditions is the direct result of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Barack Obama. And you go down the list, right? They're all responsible. So Ted Cruz is right on that front. But watch how Ted Cruz attacks Joe Biden from the right. And this is what the media does to try to, every time the media has a Democratic president, or exists under a Democratic president, they try to boost Republicans. This is an example of Fox News trying to boost Republicans by showing you something that you would agree with, that this is Joe Biden's fault. But then watch what Ted Cruz has to say after that.
The direct result of decisions Joe Biden made in his very first week as president. Biden and Kamala, neither one of them wants responsibility for.
That's the thing that he disagrees with Joe Biden on. They actually agree with how to address this crisis. They both agree, both Ted Cruz and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they all agree. Increase border patrol, more concentration camps, more border wall. They all agree with that. I don't. I agree with opening the borders, letting journalists in the border patrol facilities that I pay my taxpayer dollars for. So the only thing they disagree on is where the blame goes. Something where the blame goes. So they disagree on something about the past, but they agree on where to move forward. How do you move forward? Well, we just do what Joe Biden says and Kamala Harris. Ted Cruz would agree with everything that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden would want to do if they wanted to increase border patrol or increase the border wall. Or it's like the problem with this picture, this video, by the way, is the fact that there's a fucking wall here. I'm going to show you the Berlin Wall and what happened when they took the Berlin Wall down, and you'll see a bunch of Americans happy, not sad, not mad. This is sad. Having a border wall where this is the only way you can get the children in here. If we didn't have a border wall, this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't be happening if we didn't have a border wall. The border wall caused this. All right, well, the 5 want to criticize this. Specifically, this person on the top left wants to criticize Joe Biden, and she's going to attack Joe Biden from the right. Get ready.
Dana, just a very pragmatic question as we start off here.
Pragmatic.
What could Harris, who's now in charge of this, or President Biden do? They've been adding people to speed the processing of the cases. I think it was 100,000 arrested, deported at the border in February, even more in March. They're adding facilities to house children safely. They're opening
facilities to house children safely. Really, is that what they're doing? That's what you call it? They're housing children safely? How do you know? Journalists aren't allowed in. You're a journalist. You're not allowed in. How can you just make that conclusion if you're not allowed in?
Talks with Latin countries to stop the future flow. What do the critics think that the Biden-Harris administration should be doing?
What should the Biden administration be doing? That's the question. Get ready for this.
That's like the easiest question. I could hit a home run with that question.
Home run.
Go.
Okay. What?
Okay. Oh shit. I have to be racist. Fuck.
What could they do? First of all, they could swallow some pride, because what they want.
That's what they should do. Swallow pride. You want to fix this problem? How should the Joe Biden administration move forward? How do you solve this crisis? Me. They just need to pride. They need to something about pride. Yeah. That's what they need to do. That'll solve everything.
Wanted to do when they first got here was to overturn anything that President Trump had done. And okay, so what could they have done? and okay, they didn't reverse anything that Joe Biden or that Donald Trump instated. So when it comes to immigration, so that's why I just said okay. Like, listen, she's like struggling. Overturn anything that President Trump had done. And okay.
And did he? No.
And got here was to overturn anything that President Trump had done. And okay. So what could they have done? The Remain in Mexico policy was a great win.
There it is. There's your answer. That was what you were digging for. That's why you all came here. The minute and 34 seconds we were all waiting for. Trump's policy. That works. Let's do that thing we tried earlier that didn't work. That caused this problem to begin with. Let's try that. That'll solve the problem. Let's just keep doing the fucking thing we keep trying over and over again. Again, there are only 3 solutions to address the border crisis. Close the border, open the border, or somewhere in between. And if you do somewhere in between, you introduce philosophical contradictions and gray areas. And then stuff like this ends up happening, and you end up violating human rights in the long run. So the only conclusion I think that we should be, I think the only conclusion we could get to, if we were to be moral, is that we should open up the borders. We need to open up the borders. We need to let people out of those cages. We need to let the kids out of the cages. What's going to happen to these kids? They get locked up. They're probably still in some cage. That's where they are right now. They're probably in a cage. And again, Joe Biden, just deport them. Just deport them. Just buy their plane ticket, not their moms. Don't buy their mom's plane ticket to fly them here. Buy the kids' plane ticket, fly them over there, and just hopefully the government will figure it out. You know, it's a dangerous place over there. I know, and I presuppose that with every speech I give, and I presuppose that they're running from dangerous circumstances, but I'm just gonna fly them over there anyways. That's what's gonna happen to these kids. So the whole Trump policy is already being done. We're already just deporting them. So Fox News is trying to attack Joe Biden on the right, and it's like they really can't. It's a really weak attack. Now, I support I support tearing down walls, and I want to show you what happens when you have open borders.
If you know one thing about the fall of the Berlin Wall, it might be this.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Well, when they teared down the wall, what happened with the people? What happened to the Americans and the Europeans? They're all smiling. They're all clapping.
Berliners stormed the wall, saying they heard on the news that they could cross.
They tore down the wall.
The outnumbered East German border guards were completely overwhelmed.
Somehow they hadn't gotten the message, or they didn't know what to do, or they were
And everyone's
afraid.
happy.
Well, who knows? But they
And everyone's totally
basically
chill.
opened the border, and thousands of people streamed into West Berlin.
Ich bin so happy. Ich habe so viele Freunde drüben und ich freue mich so, weil ich schwör's euch, so toll.
Ist das ein schöner Tag? Ist das eine Nacht? Aber toll, da flippst du aus. Ich geh West Berlin!
Look at that. They're all happy. And you're happy for them. So let's let them in. There's no reason we should be preventing them from crossing the border. They are not dangerous. The science is clear on that. They're very productive. But that shouldn't even matter because they need help. They need health care. They need food. They need shelter. Let's give it to them. We're Americans. We're the richest country in the world. Let's be a role model. And let's house and feed people who are fleeing their countries. That's what we should be doing. So this could be us.
Over its 28-year history.
But this is what's going. This is what they had to do. This looks a lot like what's going on at the border right now between Mexico and the U.S.
People died trying to cross the Berlin Wall.
November 9th, plus unification a year later, was the most decisive event in.
That's a lot of people celebrating. What are they celebrating? They're celebrating open borders. They're celebrating open borders. So let's open our borders and we can celebrate too. That's what we should be doing.